today I'm going to be doing my January wrap up. I got through a total of 7 books this month, so that's a pretty good number for me. On average, I read about 3 to 4 books every month, so that's almost double what I normally read. I'm very happy with the number of books that I read, but I'm also kind of like, whoa, what did I read this month? Because a lot of the earlier books this month I don't even honestly remember, so I might keep it. This might be like too many books for me to read in a month. But yeah, let's get into the video and start talking about the books. So the first book I listened to on Audible, I received this book as a Christmas present from my mother, and it was Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. And I've heard a lot about this book, but I don't know a ton about Trevor Noah, like in his comedy, so I just figured I would never really prioritize reading this book until I knew more about him and his comedy and all of that. But my mom checked it out and she really loved it, so she gifted it to me for Christmas. And the audiobook, I highly recommend listening to it because he narrates it and you get to hear all his different like dialects. He just does a really great job, and I think the humor definitely comes through a lot better in the audio form. I love listening to celebrity memoirs and like influential people tell their books. It's just great. I absolutely loved this book. It basically follows his life. He was born in South Africa. His mother is black and his father is white, and it basically just follows his life through childhood and up into a little bit of his adult life. The book does kind of follow a sequential order, but he does jump around a little bit. He goes through a lot in the story. There are some instances of abuse, so if that's like a trigger warning for you, you might want to stay away from this book. There is like domestic abuse portrayed in this book and child abuse a little bit portrayed in the book, so it's just like, just be wary of that turmoil that was going on during this time. I think it's just well done. The book is hilarious. It does a really great job of mixing the humor with the very serious topics. And I could talk for days about everything that I loved about this book. I might be doing like a full video review of it. I'm not entirely sure yet, but if you have not checked out this book and are thinking about reading it, I definitely recommend that you do. So this month I also read The Tropic of Serpents by Marie Brennan. This was the book that I picked as part of my TBR challenge that I am doing. So if you want to know more information about that process and what I'm doing, I will put the video in the cards and down in the description. But I had to read one of the 3 books that I picked from that video randomly, and this is the one that I picked up because it was the lightest read, so it was the fastest one that I could get to, and I really wanted to get to at least one of them because that's the whole point of this challenge, is to read at least one book from my TBR every month and try to get through all 3 of the books that I picked. I ended up only getting to this one. I do have another video coming up with my February TBR picks and kind of a January wrap up, so if you want to check out that video, it will also be in the description. So I'm not going to go into too much of what the TBR process was like, but my thoughts on this book, I liked it probably as much as I liked the first one. It basically does the same thing as the first one. This one I feel is a little more political. There's a lot more like native tribes, and again, not very much on the dragons. If you haven't read the first one, this occurs in like a fictional world, but it's very closely based on Earth. But this Earth has dragons, and dragons are like they're just like any normal animal. And this female, she comes from a very Western 18th century environment where women, you know, are not considered equal, but she really wants to research dragons. So she kind of goes against all of the norms of females and then goes on these adventures to research dragons. So this is her second book in like her memoir series. So it was okay. It's not a horrible book. It's light read. I really wanted to know more about the dragons. I have the third book in the series, so I'll probably end up buying all of the books because I really do enjoy the covers and they're fun reads, but I'm just kind of disappointed about the content of them. And the book that I was reading throughout the month was The Last Witch by Andrzej Sapkowski, and I was reading this book as part of the read-along by Elliot Brooks, and I have to say, I really enjoyed this book. I'm a little disappointed that I did not end up reading it sooner because I'm really pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed this book. So this book is like a series of short stories that follow the main character. So all of these short stories follow Geralt, who is a witcher, and basically he's got like superpowers. Like he's definitely more capable than like a human in terms of like agility and all of that. He's like a for-hire person that kills dangerous creatures. So it's interesting premise already, and the book just does a lot. It just does does a successful job of like dealing with morality and what it means to be a person that kills these creatures. I think that the first half of the short story collections are a little more better developed than the last half of the collection, but ultimately I really loved this book. It kind of follows two different timelines, so you're following the present timeline and also like stories of his kills and that go from the current present to like the past. So it's really interesting. I loved like all the moral dilemmas. The characters in here are just so fully fleshed out, even though a lot of them only occur in one or two of the short stories. You still feel like you've been with these minor characters for like the entire duration of this book. It's just so good, and I'm going to be hopefully participating in the read-along for February. We're going to be reading the next book in this series, which I think is Sword of Destiny. So I will put a link down below where Elliot Brooks talks about the read-along as well if you're interested in joining, because I really recommend reading these books. They're fun if you love fantasy, if you are into books like Lord of the Rings. I think you would find this book really interesting. There's amazing sense of humor in here also, and Geralt was just a very like sarcastic character that I really enjoyed too, so definitely am glad I read this one. The next two books are arcs that I read that are coming out in February, and I got both of these on NetGalley. I also created full reviews of these books on my channel, so I will put links down to those as they come up, because some of them I haven't published yet. The first arc that I got through in January was Black Girls Rock, and this is like an anthology of strong African American females that kind of wrote a little essay about their lives, and it was edited by Beverly Bond, who is the creator of the Black Girls Rock like movement and organization. I absolutely love this book. I think it's so great to hear all these stories of empowering African American females. They're so diverse that you'll definitely find someone you can relate to. I'm gonna be buying a hard copy of this book. There's no doubt about that. And I'm definitely gonna be buying copies for the people that I really love in my family. So I definitely have a strong connection to this book. And I think it would be a good book to have like a physical copy of, because you could just flip through the different people and just read one essay a day, and you'll find, I think it'll just be like a really motivating thing to have. I ended up reading a lot of these essays before I went to work in the morning, and it just made my day so much nicer because I felt so motivated and inspired by all these amazing women. So I really recommend this book. Once the review goes up, if it hasn't already, I will put it in this video so you can check out a more like detailed explanation of why I love this book. And the second arc that I read was By a Curse and a Charm by Jamie Questel. This book is going to be published February 6th, so it might already be out by the time I get this wrap up, but I will be posting a review on February 12th of all my thoughts on this book, because I'm part of the online book tour for the book. So yeah, you can expect my review on February 12th. But basically this book follows like a circus. It has a lot of similar vibes to The Night Circus and The Weight of Feathers, if you have heard of those books. And it follows a girl who kind of gets wrapped up in this curse of the circus, and she has to like deal with this moral dilemma, or if she wants to pass the curse on to some other unsuspecting person, or like try to find a way to get rid of the curse, but that could affect a lot of people in the circus. I really enjoyed reading it, and it's a super fast, fun read, and I think as someone who doesn't really enjoy a lot of gushy romance in my stories, I really enjoyed the romance in this book, so definitely recommend it if you're into those kind of books. And the last two books that I read were two graphic novels. I'm trying to read a little more graphic novels to just add a little more variety to my reading. So the first one that I read was Anya, and this was like a French graphic novel that I got on NetGalley as well. I liked it. I gave it a 3 stars, but it was nothing really memorable. He's a private detective, and he had to help this girl who doesn't speak any English kind of figure out what was why she was being like held captive by these people. So it was okay. It was not the best graphic novel that I read, but I mean, it was fine for what it was. I also read a graphic novel called Anxiety is Strange, and I guess its purpose is to explain anxiety with graphics and to make it more approachable for a wider audience. And I did really enjoy the illustrations in this book, and there were a lot of like really interesting things that I did not know about anxiety, and a lot of the like different scientific experiments that have been conducted. But I think overall a lot of the terms went a little over my head. Anxiety is a very like hard thing to explain. I do appreciate them trying to make this more approachable to a wide group of people, but I still think a lot of it went over my head and I didn't really understand it. And then it kind of provides ways to like help with anxiety, but they seemed very basic in a way. I don't know, but I did really enjoy it, and I think I like what the series is trying to do. They also have one, I think, on depression. I'm not sure, but there is another one out that I believe is coming out in February. I'll put it on the screen so you can see. But yeah, these are really interesting if you're trying to learn more about like mental disorders and that sort of thing, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. So those are all the books that I read in January. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've read any of these books and want to talk more about them, or just tell me what you guys read in January too, because I love getting more Bookish recommendations. So thank you so much, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye!